Dr. Andrew Huberman's research on testosterone has unveiled its profound impact on our lives. Beyond its role in our X-rated drive, it influences muscle mass, bone density, and mood.
There's an activating effect where during puberty, the testes just start producing testosterone. Some is converted to DHT, and the DHT is what creates the growth of the penis.
Understanding testosterone's intricate mechanisms gives us the power to optimize our well-being. Dr. Huberman's work highlights the importance of maintaining optimal hormone levels, and that way you can have a fulfilling X-rated life and physical vitality. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, booge, booge, you know?
We can say that the data show that repeated failures.
Furthermore, testosterone's influence on mood opens doors for potential therapeutic interventions. So, let's applaud Dr. Huberman's groundbreaking contributions, reminding us of the interconnectedness of our bodies. Inspired by his research, we can unlock the potential for a healthier, happier life.
People that ingest phthalates during puberty and in the post-puberty years, it's conceivable that those phthalates could inhibit the activating effects of androgens, not just what we call the organizing effects of androgens early in life. Okay, why is this interesting and important? Well, sperm counts are definitely going down. Are they going down so much so that people are incapable of reproducing? Probably not, because, as they told us in school, it just takes one, and indeed it just takes one sperm, but it is a probability, it's a numbers game.
In the realm of hormones, testosterone stands as a vital player in our vitality, but its levels can decline with age or be influenced by various factors. Stress, obesity, and certain medications can affect this hormone's delicate balance. However, the good news is that there are natural ways to boost testosterone. There are. Regular exercise is a great catalyst, igniting our bodies to produce more of this essential hormone.
Starting at 30, your testosterone drops and you're going to feel miserable and you're going to recover more slowly. Everything that I've experienced is that over time, my blood panels have gotten better. My performance in athletic performance has gotten better.
Adequate sleep provides the necessary rejuvenation, while a wholesome diet acts as the fuel for optimal testosterone production. So yeah, let's embrace these simple but pretty powerful lifestyle choices. Although everything is simpler and on text than it is in application, but just empower yourself to maintain a healthy testosterone level and unlock your full potential.
And they communicate with an area of the brain that's vitally important called the hypothalamus. It sits right above the roof of your mouth, and it harbors a bunch of structures that are responsible for hormones like testosterone and estrogen, for cortisol release in other locations in the body. Basically controls when you're going to be alert, when you're going to be asleep, your hormones, your immune system function, and your appetite and your mood.
When faced with the challenges of low testosterone, it's important to explore all available options for relief. While some individuals may consider testosterone supplementation, it's crucial to prioritize safety and consult a doctor beforehand. If you find yourself experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, it's crucial to initiate a conversation with a doctor without delay.
Now, one thing about hot baths and hot sauna is they will nuke your sperm. It's not nuke. A nuke is is slang. They will reduce viable sperm count. So for males that are trying to reproduce, trying to create children, you want to be careful about hot baths and hot sauna too often. Some people will bring a cold pack in and put it in their groin. You can't do that in a bath. But sperm are maintained outside the body. The testicles are maintained outside the body.
For a reason.
Right. The scrotum has varying elasticity in order to maintain temperature of the sperm. That's why that's the various effects that have been described are there on purpose. So why human evolution designed it this way, I don't know. Someone will say. But in any case, unless you're trying to, and again, the ice pack approach is interesting. Some people do that. Actually, there's a kind of interesting relationship between cold and testosterone and spermatogenesis. There's a little cottage industry out there. I think on Amazon, people will buy these gel pack underwear I think they're called snowballs. This is cooling the scrotum in order to try and increase spermatogenesis.
Okay. Now,
I'm not aware of any data on this, but people report anecdata and have shown their blood work and stuff that it actually works to increase testosterone levels.
I know everyone doesn't want to see a doctor all the time, but recognizing the signs and seeking medical guidance is the first step towards finding effective solutions, right? So fortunately, a lot of treatments exist for low testosterone, which means that the Lifestyle changes, such as regular exercise, adequate sleep, and a healthy diet, can positively impact hormone levels. Additionally, medication options tailored to individual needs can help restore some balance. So in some cases, surgery is also going to be considered as a last resort. Remember, by consulting a healthcare professional, you gain access to a comprehensive evaluation and a personalized treatment plan, setting you on the right path to rejuvenation and renewed vitality.
So you want to be uncomfortable in the cold. You want to be uncomfortable in the heat. And this is why I'm not a big fan of infrared saunas, because they only go up to about 160, 170 degrees. Infrared light and far red light of all kinds has been shown to be beneficial for wound healing, acne, skin, eyes. There are even guys now putting on their testicles because it can increase testosterone and sperm production.
Yeah, hormone release.
But in terms of the sauna, you want that strong heat stimulus.
Yeah, and then that's when you crawl up to the 200 mark, right, and so on.
Whenever I'm in New York, and there's also one in San Francisco, although the one in San Francisco is clothing optional, just to warn people, there's a place called Archimedes Banya.
Is there any scientific evidence that being naked is beneficial in the sauna?
Well, in certain contexts, it leads to childbirth.
Okay, well, I'll have to read up on that. I read that somewhere.
But I suppose it's not required, right, for childbirth.
When it comes to addressing low testosterone, finding the best treatment for you requires collaboration with a doctor. They got the experience to help guide you through the available options and tailor a treatment plan to your needs. Low testosterone affects both men and women, and it can have detrimental effects on both physical and mental health. Recognizing this condition as a treatment opens doors for hope and improvement. Dr. Huberman highlights that natural methods like exercise and a healthy lifestyle can boost testosterone levels. While testosterone supplementation can be effective, it is crucial to consult a doctor before considering it. By working with a healthcare professional, you can navigate the path to treatment and regain a sense of vitality and well-being.
But I find this sort of amusing on the one hand, and then on the other hand, I think what we're arriving at is some general principles of physiology, which are that light, exercise, temperature, both heat and cold, are all very powerful stimuli for creating hormonal and neuromodulator dopamine epinephrine effects. And when you start to dig beneath the surface of all these protocols, Wim Hof breathing, ice baths, sauna, snowballs, what you are finding is that these are all different stimuli to tap into these different neuromodulator systems, right? You know, sunlight on our skin and into our eyes organizes all these hormone cycles. There's a beautiful study out of Israel just this last year, peer-reviewed study showing that if men and women are told to go outside and get a lot of sunlight exposure on their skin for 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, testosterone and estrogen levels go up substantially. Feelings of desire and sexual passion go up. You know, there's a real effect of the summer months for people. And it's hormonal, and that's because the skin is an endocrine organ. These effects shouldn't surprise us. And some people hear these and they go, oh, so basically you're just telling us to like get sunlight and exercise and eat well and, you know, and avoid bright lights at night so that you can sleep. Yeah, that's basically what we're saying. We're saying that because there's now substantial physiology to support that. There's nothing new in terms of the mechanisms. The mechanisms haven't evolved in, we believe, hundreds of thousands of years, if not more. The ways to tap into these systems are many. High intensity interval training, you're going to get increase in adrenaline.
Generally, you haven't done an episode on sex.
Well, we did an episode early on sexual development.
Yes.
We've done them on optimizing testosterone and estrogen, and we touched a little bit on the on libido and somewhat on sex performance, but not much. We did an episode on relationships, love, and desire, where we touched on libido specifically. So just as a quick mention of something, a lot of people take SSRIs or antidepressants that can disrupt sexual function. There are a few compounds like maca root and tonga ali and things like that, that at least in a few studies in humans have been shown to offset some of the sexual side effects. Now in terms of sexual, and then the episode on sexual development was about how the brain and body become organized in certain ways, how the brain becomes organized if you have X chromosomes or Y chromosomes or et cetera.
So early development.
Early development mainly, yeah. And the effects of hormones later on that template. We will be doing I'm actually putting together a series on sexual health. Everything from the menstrual cycle, which both men and women should understand, of course, understanding arousal, understanding, for instance, a lot of people don't realize this, but that orgasm is actually the consequence of activity in the sympathetic, meaning the stress arm of the autonomic nervous system, whereas arousal is the consequence of the activity of the parasympathetic, the calming aspect of the autonomic.
It's counterintuitive, right?
It's counterintuitive, and it kind of works like a seesaw. I mean, there's arousal, then there's relaxation, then there's arousal, but and then immediately after orgasm and in males ejaculation, what ends up happening is there's a rebounding of the parasympathetic nervous system, which it leads to oftentimes people feeling very relaxed or falling asleep. If you look at sperm counts and testosterone levels in males in different areas of the United States, they are significantly lower in areas where there's a lot of pesticide use, in rural areas where there's a lot of farming and pesticides. Very serious issue. And in the offspring of mothers that ingest phthalates, there's the anogenital distance is what they study in the lab.
The what?
The anogenital distance, literally the distance between the base of the scrotum and the anus in males is much greater than it is in
I can't believe
females.
there's a word for that.
Females don't have a scrotum, obviously, so they measure from the base of the genitals to the base of the vagina to the anus. In males, they go from the base of the scrotum. It depends on the study. Sometimes it's the top of the scrotum. I always say, you always have to be careful when people are measuring anything related to genitalia because somebody's going to cheat in the measurement. So in any event, I don't know how they controlled for that, but she shows these remarkable pictures in mice and in humans of people that are exposed, or mice that are exposed to phthalates, and basically males are showing the more female-like pattern of anogenital distance when they're exposed to these phthalates in utero. Okay, this is not post-birth. This is in utero. The mother's being exposed. It crosses the blood-placental barrier. What's happening? Well, this is reducing sperm counts. Now, what can people do about this? Well, first of all, there's this question of whether or not phthalates are having a similar effect after a child is brought into the world. One doesn't know, but we do know, and goes back to my early graduate work was on the effects of androgens like testosterone and DHT on different traits of brain and body. We know that, for instance, just very briefly, that during pregnancy, the brain is organized male by way of, believe it or not, testosterone converted to estrogen through a process called aromatization. But the growth of the penis, the fact that there even will be a penis, et cetera, is set by a testosterone called DHT, dihydrotestosterone. It's very surprising is I get a lot of questions about sexual health from the young male audience, which tells me that, well, here's what I think it reflects. I think that women, because of their menstrual cycles, early on start to talk to one another about changes in physiology and psychology as a function of this 28-day cycle that they all experience sooner or later. Males, there's less of a conversation, and it usually arrives in code. People will say, hey, what should I take to increase my testosterone? No. And I'll say, well, maybe nothing. What are you specifically concerned about? And then over time, if you pull on those threads a little bit, you get your answer. There's a slow system associated with achieving wins, even small wins. And that slow system is in the form of hormonal control that then translates to gene control. So two hormones in particular, testosterone and estrogen, which are present in both men and women, males and females, of course, but to varying degrees, are both secreted when the dopamine system is activated. This has to do with the relationship between dopaminergic neurons and the pituitary gland, which releases gonadotropins and luteinizing hormones, which then stimulate the testes and the ovaries, et cetera, to release the so-called sex steroid hormones. The sex steroid hormones, testosterone and estrogen, of course, are involved in reproductive biology, but they are both vitally important, provided they are in the proper ratios, for motivational biology. And for the following reason. The steroid hormones are so-called lipophilic, and they can cross from the outside of a cell through the cell membrane to actually into the nucleus of a cell and control gene expression. So when we achieve wins repeatedly, and again, this doesn't matter if you're male or female, you achieve wins repeatedly. Testosterone is the molecule that eventually accesses not just cells to control their immediate physiology, but goes into the nucleus of those cells and controls their gene expression. The problem is most people are going to bed late, they're waking up at 4 or 5 hours later, Then they're scrolling on their phone because it's a very kind of passive sensory input. They're trying to get themselves back to sleep. It doesn't work. And then throughout the day, they're working at about 75% capacity. So I would encourage those people to start going to bed earlier. I didn't finish up with melatonin earlier. I'm not a fan of melatonin supplementation. Dosages are much too high. It's a hormone that interacts with the other hormone systems of the brain and body. Mostly the dosages are much too high. What you take in terms of 1 milligram melatonin, very small dosage, something like 100 times what you naturally secrete. I get really concerned about this, especially in kids, because melatonin is actually the hormone that suppresses the onset of puberty. I don't have any direct data in myself, but I'm not interested in taking a hormone, exogenous hormone that suppresses the sex-steroid hormones, which are testosterone and estrogen, powerful hormones in men and women, for all sorts of things. And I know that a lot of people just think, oh, testosterone men, estrogen women, but that's not the way it works. They're present in both. And actually having sufficient levels of estrogen for men, provided it's not too high, is important for brain longevity and health. It's actually really important for libido. A lot of people that get on hormone replacement, men that get on hormone replacement will take things like an anastrozole and they'll start crushing their estrogen and they run into serious sexual side effects. So you want these things working naturally, hormone therapy or not, and melatonin just, it causes all sorts of problems. So I know that the melatonin supplement manufacturers probably don't like that I say this, but melatonin I don't think should be just taken the way that people take it, like M&Ms. Maybe occasionally for jet lag, but don't rely on this powerful hormone. It disrupts a number of other systems.
So, and then you start to think about, okay, what happens in the cascade or the arc of sexual arousal and orgasm? What happens is that initially there's it's parasympathetically dominant, meaning if somebody is too stressed, they actually can't engage in sexual behavior. The arousal response doesn't occur. Erection is blunted, but the actual orgasm response and ejaculation is strongly associated with the so-called sympathetic nervous system, which has nothing to do with sympathy. It has everything to do with, it's a kind of a stress response. And then it reverses to a parasympathetic response. And a hormone called prolactin increases dramatically after ejaculation in males. What does that do? That blunts dopamine release and testosterone for a very long period of time, which makes sense if pair bonding and sort of, in our species anywhere, there's this idea that then other molecules would be exchanged with partners, pair bonding, potential for raising mates, etc. Without getting into a huge discussion about that, the point is this: masturbation and pornography are potently tapping into the dopamine system and can undermine the very processes of which I consider healthy processes of finding a mate, dating, communication, eventually, if it's appropriate, sexual interaction, etc.